folks. SLK. Yeah, got rid of my tooth abscess. So I now feel able to function, basically, which is still functioning on a lower level as usual. I reserve high level functioning for important things like kebabs. So yes, so it was throwing codes up for the O2 sensor, and the car has been using a lot of fuel, rough idle, all that lot, so I cleaned out the throttle body and all that lot, which was dirty. That improved it slightly, and then it threw a cold. I had a word with one of my mates, and he said, "No, just replace the sensor. So they're not worth cleaning or anything like that." So that's the sensor. And when I took it apart, I noticed there was oil in the plug. I thought, strange, how has oil got there? So I did a little googly Google, and it turns out these 4-cylinder Mercedes engines of this origin around the early 2000s, earlier SLKs and earlier CLKs, anything that used this supercharged 230 2-litre engine, I think they did an 1800 as well. The earlier cars, the wiring looms had solid pins in the other end of these plugs, and then in their immaculate wisdom, Mercedes, for some reason, well, it's Mercedes and GM, decided to go to hollow plugs. Whether it saves a few pennies, probably an accountant had a lot to do with it rather than an engineer. I don't think an engineer would be this stupid. But they went to hollow plugs, and what happens is, on the front of the engine you've got a magnetic ring. It's called cam actuator, and oil can seep past it, and sure enough, I did have a good oil leak there, so I replaced the cam actuator, not even bothering to look inside the loom or anything like that. But what happens is, oil seeps past the sensor, and in theory in any other car it would just stop. It'd stop there, it couldn't go any further. But because they went to hollow pin, oil can then migrate into the wiring loom, and I mean into the wiring loom, between the insulation, I mean this insulation, and the wire. And of course, when it gets to a sensor or inside a sensor plug, it throws a signal, false signal. It like opens a circuit, closes a circuit, whatever. So that sensor can no longer give an accurate reading. So the cure is, got to take the engine wiring loom out. Worst case scenario, it migrates to the ECU and it can knacker the ECU. So we've got to take that out as well. That's a job for another day. I haven't got the time to do it at the moment, but I've just took a quick shot that hopefully you can see that oil actually has migrated around some of the loom. It had made it so far as the O2 sensor, which is about the furthest point, and then the loom also goes to a water temperature sensor. That's got water in it. That's got oil in it. And funnily enough, the plug for the cam actuator has got oil in it. Now, there is a cure, and as I'm unprepared, I haven't got it in front of me. So it'll be a nanosecond for you, a couple of minutes for me. I'll show you what the cure was. So this is the cure which Mercedes-Benz GM came up with, and basically it's an extra bit of loom to plug into there. That is the cam actuator. Let's plug into there. Or rather the other way around. Hopeless. So that plugs into there, and that plugs into there, which is the other end of the cam actuator plug. As you can see, it is oily. So what we've got to do is trace all this wiring back, take it out. The O2 sensor wiring goes behind there because that's down there, and
the ECU is in here, and in worst case scenarios it can actually get into, it can migrate all the way up. This is your ECU, this is your main engine harness coming in, so that plug there, all these plugs, get them out. This is the computer for the car, whip it out, because in worst case scenarios the oil gets into the wiring for the computer and it fills the computer with oil, and you can imagine how that goes. So let's see, back to the shed. Right, so I hope that explains how to fix the problem. Basically you've got to take the engine loom out, and then you can basically force brake clean through it, and clean the oil out of it. The only other thing is, if you can find a good used loom with no oil in it, which is no guarantee at all, you can get one of them, probably about 100 quid. In America, Mercedes, they did I think a service callback for it, and it was completely free. If you do own an old SLK, it might be worth approaching Mercedes if you're in they're America. But in Europe, to my knowledge, they didn't. Now, one of the guys at work used to work for Mercedes and said it was a very, very common problem. They quote 10 hours to do it, and having looked at the loom on the engine, it won't take fucking 10 hours. No way, because all Mercedes do is they'll replace the loom with a new one, 600 quid, whatever. It won't be far off that. And then they will replace the O2 sensor, they'll replace the airflow sensor, you can call it what you like, and some call it an hot film sensor, a mass airflow sensor and all this lot. It's the one just before the throttle body, basically, because oil will migrate there, and that's the codes I've been getting is for the throttle body. It's on the same loom, the mass airflow sensor and the O2 sensor. Now, given the age of the car, she's 21 years old. Slinky is a he. You know, it's 100 and I forget how many miles it's got on it, 140 something thousand. It's not bad, to be honest. It has never ever broken down, and it only really ran super rough a few weeks ago when I took it to the chemist for my extra large condoms. That's a lie. So basically what happens is, yes, the whiteboard of shit instruction is back. I'm going to do my Rolf Harris now, not the best fucking example, Jim. So basically what it was is, say, you can't fucking see it and I can't draw it at the same fucking time. Hopefully you can see it. Anyway, I'm going to draw it and then I'm going to show you it. But I'm not going to spell right on this either, because I live on spell check. I'm getting good at this. Tell you what, Tony Hart, bless him, be spinning in his grave. Right, so basically what happens is, that's your cam actuator at the front of the engine, which is the source of the oil leak. It's contested, basically, or rather I think they're both talking about the same part, but they call it different things. Some people call it a cam sensor, and it isn't. A camshaft position sensor is something completely fucking different. But some people are saying that's the source of the oil leak. It may well be, but the cure patch that came out was for the cam actuator, which is the round thing on the front of the engine. It's a well-known source of oil leaks, and I replaced mine. They're not expensive. Cleaned it all up, the O-ring goes, and replaced it, and that was all good. And the oil that we've just seen in the plug is probably what was already in the loom, because it had already gone. But this, I'm never going to win any fucking technical awards, but anyway, next thing is tune your ear a little bit, dear me. But the plug coming out of the cam actuator, this is not the correct orientation or anything, it's just the diagram, is hollow. So what happens is, when the oil seal back here, the O-ring,
goes wank, oil can migrate through here, through the pins, and of course your other plug goes over there, and that's got tiny little hollow pins to go in it, because no doubt they were trying to save like a penny a fucking car. Oh, we'll make the pins in the loom hollow so fucking everything can go through it. Twats. Anyway, this affects GM cars as well. So if you're American and got a GM car, any GM brand basically, because a lot of the labels on that Merc are all GM. So it's Chrysler, Mercedes, and all that lot. So what happens is the oil goes through the pin into the that's the loom. Look, that's the loom, just so you're sure. And what happens is, because this is twisted wire in the loom, it migrates. It will wick through the twisted wire into any other sensors or anything like that along the loom, and that's exactly what's happened. Now the Mercedes cure is to put, where the fuck is it? I've only just had it. This patching, right, which is basically just an extension of the loom, but the difference is the first couple of inches or something of this plug is now solid, so that should form a barrier for the oil. You wouldn't be happy if I didn't do it. I nearly did the polar bear joke. What's that? Polar bear in a snowstorm. There's his nose. Right, anyway. So basically that's what's happened. That's what the cure is, but you still have to take the loom out and clean it. I was speaking to the guy at work who used to work for Mercedes, and says, yeah, you can just force brake clean through it and it will do it. It's not a quick job, which is why Mercedes quote, I can't see why Mercedes quote, they only quote 10 hours for taking old stuff off and putting new stuff on, because basically there are exceptions, and I'm not tarring all of them with the same brush, absolutely not, but a lot of dealer technicians are nothing more than parts fitters. A computer tells them what's wrong with it, they replace the part. That's it. We've all seen it on every YouTube video you ever watch about jobbing mechanics and stuff like this, and I watch a lot of them. I watch a brilliant guy, well, a few of them actually. One of them's called Rainman Ray's Repairs, and he's in Florida, and he is a proper old-fashioned mechanic. He's not that old, but he's a proper old-fashioned mechanic. He diagnoses, he can repair where necessary, he replaces where necessary, but he will take you through the whole process, a bit like Watchware's Work and South Main Auto and stuff like that. I don't tend to watch a lot of British channels, to be honest, because it's just not what I'm into. So this was a known thing on 4-cylinder Mercedes engines that were fitted to the SLK, the CLK, and stuff like that. If it's of the sort of 99 to sort of 97 era ish, the facelift SLK apparently didn't suffer from it. They basically changed the loom, they changed that part of the loom, and it became part of the normal build process, and they don't suffer from it apparently. So yeah, so that's what I've got to do. So yeah, I'm going to take my time on it. The trouble is with me, I get very, very impatient. If something needs to be fixed and I've got the part, I need to do it. I've got to do it, have to do it. I don't think about anything else. It becomes all encompassing, basically, to the detriment of a lot of stuff. I can't think about anything else. But on this one, because I've got to take all the loom out, and I'm going to strip down some of the engine bay just to make it more accessible and easier, and it'll show you guys more, because I shall film a lot of it, and we'll just go through the process, and then with any luck, Slinky will be back up and running, because yeah, I miss him. He's been a fantastic car, really good. I would recommend an SLK to anybody. When we got him, it was sort of a project when we got him anyway. So apart from we replaced a couple of what they call like your sensors and stuff in the centre console when we first got him, because they do, like any other car, they have their problems. Take the Rover for example. Oh, head gasket jokes out your arse. I had an MGF with the K series engine, which Lotus used in the Elise, did 160,000 miles in it, and the only thing that went wrong with that engine is that the alternator seized when I laid it up over winter. They're great engines, they're fantastic engines, but I know more BMWs, Subarus and Renaults that have shit head gaskets on a regular basis than any MG Rover ever did. So anyway, we won't go into that. So you know, every car, whether it be a Rolls Royce, a Lamborghini, whatever, they all have inherent problems. Some of it is to do with the design, a lot of it's to do with ownership. A lot of people don't do preventative maintenance. This is the same on anything: a lawnmower, a motorcycle, a sewing machine. Do your preventative maintenance and you'll have a lot less crap to deal with in the future. But also, a lot of vehicles have inherent problems that will crop up. They just will. Subarus will do a head gasket, you can guarantee it. BMWs will turn you into a wanker, guaranteed. You know, so, I mean, some of the worst engines ever put in relatively modern cars are, full enough, BMWs. We won't talk about the 6 Series with chattering wastegates and, you know, shit like that. Some of them are terrible, but like everything else in life, when these things are running well, they run fantastic. It's like if you had, let's say for argument, you won the lotto, or maybe you're net rich and you're watching this and you've got an old Lamborghini Countach, right? Jay Leno, Rod Stewart, right? Extreme examples I know, but they used to run old V12 Lamborghinis every day and they didn't go wrong. Tells you a story there. A lot of these people that own these sort of cars, or even classic cars, motorcycles and all this lot, they keep them locked up for the best part of the year and then expect them to work perfectly in the 2 weeks of the year that they're going to use them. It doesn't work like that. You wouldn't leave a horse in a field for a year and then expect it to be nice, would you? So anyway, that's it for today. You know, we're slowly getting back to sort of normal. No progress on Pinky, no progress on Nibbler. Nibbler can actually go for an MOT, and I'm also sort of seriously considering selling him and just getting something smaller, or not bothering for, like, with a bike for a year or something like that. I don't know. I really don't know.